Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the SH Monsterarts Gigan 2004 Great Decisive Battle version. Now, this version of Gigan comes from the 2004 film Godzilla Final Wars, which was actually the first Godzilla movie I've ever seen. Well, not counting the 98 movie, but the first, Toho, Japanese Godzilla movie I've ever seen. So that movie introduced me to a lot of the classic characters, like Anguirus, Rodan, Gigan here, and just a lot of other great characters. And Final Wars, as far as how I feel about it now, I watched it again in 2018. I wasn't the biggest fan. And then I watched it over the summer, and I was just confused. It was just a very baffling movie to me. But then, as I think about it more now, Final Wars, it's a stupid movie. In a good way, of course. Final Wars is incredibly fun, and it's just one of those movies where you can just shut your brain off and just, enjoy just the insanity that happens in it. So it's just kind of it's not a great movie. It's definitely flawed, but in the moment when you're watching it, you're just kind of who cares? This is just insane. So, yeah, Final Wars. It's the first Godzilla movie I've ever seen, so there's definitely some personal connection with this movie for me. But as far as how I feel about it now, it's still a lot of fun. Definitely not my favorite Godzilla movie, but still a very fun movie nonetheless. So if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend checking it out, but if you don't really have any interest in watching it, then honestly, that's perfectly fine. I think Final Wars is a movie that you should walk to see and not run to see. So, yeah. To start this review, before we take a look at the actual figure itself, we'll take a quick look at its accessories. And the accessories that are included here are actually really cool. First of all, we get this cool laser beam, which I think looks really cool. It's actually interesting. This actually, wasn't originally for Gigan. And what I mean by that, in the original movie that he appeared in, Godzilla vs. Gigan, he never had this ability. He just had the chainsaw on his belly, and that was pretty much it. But the Pipeworks game decided to give him a laser beam that came out of his eyes. So when making Final Wars, Toho decided, let's put that in, because that's actually kind of cool. And admittedly, yeah, it is kind of cool. It's really cool that they included something from the games into the actual character from the movies, at least as of recent. So yeah, I think it's really cool. And even the beam included in this set, I think it looks really cool. I think the sculpting is really nice. I like how it breaks off towards the end there. Pretty much how it did in the movie, but still, I think it's really cool that they included that. And there's even a nice bit of silver there. That's not my light, shining off the transparent plastic. That's, actually, silver painting there. So, yeah, I just think that looks really great. I think getting it to line up with his eye is, kind of... It's not, it's not hard, but it's just kind of weird to, just get it, in place perfectly. But once you do, I think it looks pretty cool. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for the laser. He also comes with a pair of these, bendy wire hook things, like how he had in the movie, where basically they shot out of his hooks and they just kind of wrapped around Godzilla, which I think it's cool they included that, but I don't know, it's really cool in concept, but I don't know, I would have just preferred, if, it wasn't a bendy wire, because these are very, thin pieces of bendy wire, so I could easily imagine these just, just snapping very easily, so I don't know. Plus, these things are way too long. I get why they did this, but look at this. This is almost as tall as the Jurassic World Legacy Collection Brachiosaurus. I feel like this is way too long. And in case you're wondering how to attach them, it's very easy. It's literally just this. And that's pretty much it. So lastly, we get a bunch of alternate pieces here that turn Gigan from this to this into this. And my God, this is such a metal design. So the original version with the hooks, that was already a very metal design. Then you add chainsaws, you add more spikes, and boom, you have an even metaler design. And this looks so cool. Definitely going to be how I'm displaying this guy. I like the hook hand version of this guy, but let's be real here. The chainsaw hands, this is just cooler. And if you disagree, well, good on you, but you're also wrong. This is just ideal. So, yeah. And something that's really cool that they really didn't need to do was that the blades here are actually made of, a rubbery material. So what you can do is you can just kind of, spin them like that. They didn't need to do that, but still, it's a really cool feature, and I like it a lot. Granted, this makes the figure much more fragile because I can very easily imagine this deteriorating over time because The rubber is very, very thin and not high quality at all, so I wouldn't recommend doing this too much, but, they still included it, so it's pretty cool. So, yeah. Throughout the rest of this video, however, we will be taking a look at Gigan in his regular form. So, unfortunately, we won't see the Buzzsaw version of Gigan again, but honestly, this is a little cool design. Plus, it's just, the regular base version of Final Wars Gigan, so it kind of makes sense to do the rest of the review with him. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for the accessories, so let's just get right into this and look at the painting. So the painting on this figure is actually almost perfect. The painting, it's just amazing, so let's take a quick look. So as you can see here, most of the body is this very dark shade of blue with very, subtle hints of black, which I think looks really nice, and it just makes the detailing look, it just makes the detailing pop. I just think that's great. Also, the detailing on this figure kind of reminds me of, a robotic version of the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise. So, yeah, again, that's just another thing I think is really cool. And even on all, the metallic bits, like the hook hands, and on, the, back of the tail here, there's, a little bit of, black dry brushing, which just looks really nice to give it that, sort of, weapony sort of look. And it's just so nice. And even on, the spikes on the back of the neck here, his eye here is really cool because it's not just, painted red. It's actually, well, it's red there, of course, but there's also, transparent plastic to make it look like a glass piece. I just think, again, it just looks really nice. I will say this, though. The painting on the teeth, pretty sloppy. They're just kind of slapped on there, and it's kind of hard to see, but, the back teeth there, the paint is just kind of, seeping together, so it just looks like one big tooth. And I'm not a big fan of that, but the rest of the painting here is very nice. His wings here have a nice, very nice shade of red, and all the little bits of this metallic sort of color for the inside. Again, just looks really nice. And yeah, other than the teeth, the painting on this figure is pretty much perfect. So yeah, the painting on this figure is great, so it definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the articulation, and the articulation on this figure, for the most part, is really good, just like the painting here. So yeah, let's take a closer look. So of course the mouth can close and open. The base of the head is on a ball joint, a very loose ball joint. As you can see, I am moving that with no effort whatsoever. I don't know why. Out of the box it was decent, but after playing with it, it just sort of loosened. I got this a few days ago as of me recording this, so I don't really get why this happened. I'm sure there's a way to tighten that up, but just be careful. Your head might be loose, so yeah. But anyway, the neck has a couple ball joints, especially at the base there. The arms? The arms can move outwards, and there's a swivel here as well. There is a bend at the elbow here, and the hook hand is on a ball joint as well. Going to the legs here, they are on a ball joint too, so you can get a lot of really cool poses here. And same with the knee, have them sort of bend like that, which is cool. The shin has a nice bit of articulation, a little limited, but it's fine. And the foot has a lot of nice articulation as well. Again, everything here is a ball joint, so you can get some really cool poses out of this guy, which I think is cool. Also, I forgot to point this out, his shoulder pads are also on little ball joints, so yeah, again, that's really cool. So yeah, going to his wings here, we can open them up to put him in flying mode, which looks cool. And this can move up and down a little bit too, so there's that. And we have the tail here, which is entirely comprised of ball joints. So yeah, and it is very it's very it's not limited, but it's not unlimited either. Also, when you are moving the tail, be careful, because these are little spikes here. They're very thin, so if you move the tail the wrong way, you could end up snapping some of these off. So just be careful when moving the tail. But yeah, other than that though, the tail is very fun to pose around, and it's very tight too, so you don't have to worry about anything becoming loose or popping off. It holds the pose very nicely. So yeah, And that's pretty much it for the articulation on this figure. Again, I wish the ball joint in the base of the head here was not loose, but other than that, though, I think the articulation here is great. So the articulation definitely gets a pass. Now we'll take a look at the sculpt, and the sculpting on this figure is very nice. I think like the body, like the limbs and everything like that. I think the sculpting here looks great and very spot on to what we see in Godzilla Final Wars. But then you get to the head, and the head here, it's not one-to-one. You see, they decided to base the head off of concept art rather than how it looked in the actual movie. And the reason why they did this was because this is actually a repaint of an existing figure that came out all the way back in like 2014, which was a few years after when the line first started. So at that point, they weren't really interested in making like movie accurate looking figures, but more so just like stylistically pleasing looking figures. You can tell by their 2014 figure, or the Godzilla 2014 figure, and a lot of other figures that just have like, minor differences to how they looked in the actual movies, which I'm not against. I still think the head sculpt looks really nice. This is more based off of like, concept art, but still, even though it's not accurate, like, granted, I will admit that I would have preferred a more movie accurate looking head sculpt, but still, I think the sculpting here is very nice, especially in the head. You can still tell it's Final Wars Gigan, and honestly, that is good enough for me. So, yeah. So, the sculpting on this figure, it's not movie accurate, but honestly, I still think it looks very nice. So, the sculpting here definitely gets a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the detailing, and the detail on this figure is fantastic. It is so good here, so let's take a closer look. So, of course, throughout the body here, we can see a lot of, like, metallic detailing, like, all of the plated armor on the back of the neck here, and all of just, like, the mechanical, like, wires and stuff on the front of the body here. And it's all beautifully designed, like, this just looks incredible. And same, on this side, just all of, like, the mechanical detailing. All the detailing for the hook hands here, again, just look really nice, all of the paneling and everything like that. Very smooth. Unfortunately, I forgot to point this out earlier, but on mine, the hook here is actually warped, so it's kind of bent a little. Which, it's not supposed to be like that. I'm sure I could fix it with some, with a a hair blow dryer, but, it would have been nice if it didn't come like that. But that's just me. And the legs here, again, have a lot of really nice detailing here, just mechanical bits and everything like that. Just looks very nice. And just, yeah, more detailing here throughout, like all of the back of the tail here and all the little spikes. And the underside of the tail as well, all of like the bits of wiring and everything like that. Just looks really cool. And that spiked, tip of the tail there, just really nice. And same with the wings here, all the little like folds and everything like that is just detailed very nicely, just really, really nicely defined. And yeah. And that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And the detailing on this figure, like I said before, is pretty much perfect. So the sculpting here, without a doubt, definitely gets a pass. Now to do some size comparisons. Here is the Bandai Creations Godzilla Final Wars. This was the very first Godzilla figure I ever owned. So there you go. Here is the Bandai Movie Monster Series Mothra Final Wars version. This is the newer one that came out in 2019 that they're trying to pass off as the Heisei Mothra, but it's Final Wars Mothra. And of course, here is the original Bandai Creations Final Wars Gigan figure. This is, again, the same one I had from when I was a wee lad. So there they are together. And of course, in tradition, here is some hand sanitizer here. And here is Dr. Billy Grant. So, there you go. So at the end of the day, should you get this? I think that this is a great figure. I think the painting is great, the articulation is great, despite my loose head. The sculpting, even though it's not accurate, I still think it has a lot of charm. And even the detail on this figure, I think is absolutely phenomenal. And the accessories that also accompany this figure, again, those are really cool too. But the thing is, this figure is way too expensive for me. This figure costed like $140 something, which I think is way too much. And granted, I got this from Awesome Collector, which, if you want to get into collecting SH Monsterarts figures, I'd suggest going there because they are pretty affordable. But the thing is, like, even then, like, that was the lowest. I think, like, on average, this thing is, like, 150, 160, something like that. The price tag for this figure is very, very, like, not too affordable. So, I'd say if you have the money, I'd say go for it, because I know the original version of this figure goes for, like, I think 400 or 300, something like that. You have to sell a kidney in order to buy the original version. So with this figure out and it having more accessories, I'd say yes, definitely go for it, but I don't know. I still think that this figure is a little too expensive, but honestly, I still think that this is a very nice figure, so if you can get it, if you have the money for it, then honestly, I'd say get it. If not, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, the price is just a little too much, but overall, I think that this is a very solid figure. So, yes, I do recommend it, but only if you can get it for a decent price. So, yeah. Anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.